coming at you. Good Thursday, everybody. Welcome to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, how you doing, man?
I'm following the new era of FLW Tour. Yeah, they got Marshalls. They got a, they have a, I guess a bass track style. It's more of it's like in a Google Doc.
Yeah,
it's not.
They had that last
official.
year,
right? But we haven't not had that for the first 2 days.
Yeah.
Chad Warren, Sand Springs, Oklahoma. Remember, he got second a couple years ago. He didn't fish the tour this year, but in the last one, made a comeback, and in the first hour, he's got a 3.25, a 5.5, a 1.75, a 1.5, and a 7. He's already up to 19 pounds.
Nice.
He's a guy who needs to check.
Yeah.
So he's well on his way. So, heck, Oklahoma giving Dickie Newberry a run for his money in the first hour. I like it. So, anyway, be following that for the next couple days.
Very early in that event there. All right, great show today. Normally we're not on a Thursday, but to fit around the man's schedule, we are on Thursday with very special guests. We're going to have Mark Zona on here in about 10, 15 minutes and get his take on all kinds of stuff, man. Talked to him a little bit last night, setting up the show, testing everything, and greatly appreciate him taking time out. Dude, he is busy this year.
Yeah.
Very, very, very busy. Got a lot of stuff going on. So we'll talk to him here in about 10, 15 minutes. All right. Big deal last night, man. You got your first exposure to the world of professional bowling. We went to Shawnee, Oklahoma, the second stop of this year on the PBA Tour. And Matthew, a lot of comparisons, man. Was I dead on a lot of stuff?
Listen, I know we lose some people with the bowling comparison. We get emails from time to time, enough with the bowling.
Yeah.
There are so many. Okay, let me set the scene first.
I got pictures, too.
Yeah, it's just a bowling center. I mean, I did not know what to expect. I've seen Walter Ray Williams Jr., Rhino Page, Jason Belmonte. I am a casual bowling fan.
Yeah. Casual.
I do not bowl occasionally, probably 4 or 5 times a year.
We got pictures.
I don't know anything about really bowling based on what you've said. I've looked at it a little. So I am to break this back to fishing, the prototypical Elite Series fan who likes to bass fish occasionally, hears that the tour is in town and wants to go meet Chris Zaldain, wants to go see Kevin Van Dam in person, wants to go see these guys in person. But I don't know anything about it. So I was a little nervous walking in. I didn't want to do anything that would get in their way. And then there they are. They're just standing there bowling. There weren't that many fans. There were 15 lanes. They were doing like a total pin count. They were all kind of interacting with each other. They all had their jerseys on it. And you're like, this is the guy that I see on TV whenever I see bowling on.
Yeah.
And it was very reminiscent. I mean, there were guys that were journeymen. There were guys that were legends. There were millionaires. There were guys that were struggling.
The GOAT was there. The greatest of all time was there.
It was cool. I admit, and there are a lot of similarities. I did not see anyone with a $100,000 bowling bag. I did not see anyone that drove their $80,000 vehicle to the event. I did not see anyone with $10,000 worth of bowling equipment. So the overhead is much, much less than in fishing. But it was cool. We stayed there for about an hour, watched the guys roll a couple games.
Even had a little street cred. Ran into somebody. What did I say? I go, it's really weird. I haven't been around this thing for 15, 20 years. It's weird that I haven't seen anybody that I
So
that
we're
I didn't
walking.
know.
We're about to leave, and we walk, and this guy kind of tentatively goes, Jeffries? Mark turns around, and he's like, hey, man, how's it going?
I didn't know who it was
It was a guy who used to be in your bowling league back in the day. And I said, Jeffries could bowl, and this guy got real serious. He looked at me and goes, dude, I didn't have anybody on my team that couldn't roll it.
That's right.
So you're right. Now, the live stream was very It was very reminiscent of what the bass fishing does, except they use tiny cameras.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Not the bigger cameras. Yeah, there's some pictures of it. If you're listening to this on iTunes, it's worth going to the Bass Talk Live YouTube channel to kind of check out some of the pictures. But low key, it was weird seeing people do the jobs that there are on the Elite Series. You know, you've got the reps, the guys who are taking care of the anglers off the water when they need stuff with their balls. You've got the guys who are calling the action for the live stream. You've got the guys who are running the live stream. You have kind of some independent people who was the guy who was almost at a 300 game?
The what?
The guy who almost bowled a 300 when we were watching him. The Swedish guy with the sleeve tattoo.
What is this? Swenson.
Yeah. And so, you know, there were some independent guys who all of a sudden showed up with a camera when he got to the 9th frame.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was a good deal. There's your bowling talk for the day. But I'm glad I went.
I was dead on a lot of the comparisons.
Yeah, I would like to see a TV show.
Yeah, it's cool.
I would like to go to the TV show, but I could see how, you know, they talk about these gets the same thing. You go out on a lake for 2 days. If you're a journeyman guy, you actually get on them, you catch them, you don't have anybody following you. There's no other competitors. Yeah. Then all of a sudden you make the final round, the top 12. You're competing against Van Dam and all these guys who have won. You've got a camera in your boat. You've got 50 guys following you now. I can see how tough it is. In the fishing world, for those guys, there's a comparison because, you know, you're bowling through these qualifying rounds. Mm-hmm. There ain't no one watching you. No one's really paying attention. Then all of a sudden, bam, 4 lanes, new venue, TV
Jam-packed
time, bowling against legends. I have a whole lot of respect for it now.
All right. Cool stuff. And we will get in. We had one of the previous shows. When was it? A year or two ago, we had Steve Wunderlich on. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try and get him back on. He is really, really into fishing in the state of Texas. And so there are some comparisons that I'd really like to once again discuss with him and involve how the relationship between what they have going on, some of the trails, some of the leagues could actually take notes on some of the things that they're doing and go, wow, we can make our stuff better. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. The other thing yesterday, dude, I got out of a very shortened practice because we played today in the Anadarko tournament, but my phone was blowing up. All right. Recently, I did not have the functionality on my phone to get emails, but recently I have added it. I didn't want to deal with it. I was like, I'll get emails when I get to a computer. That's it. I don't want people bugging me. So over the last, month, I loaded up to where I can get emails on my phone. And it was blowing up yesterday. A lot of viewers, a lot of fans were sending me the link to this new video that was put out yesterday by Travis Manson.
Fished the Elite Series for 3 years, I believe. Originally from Wisconsin, moved out to the Philly area. I believe he dabbled in the yogurt empire out there, and then he started a YouTube channel called Smallmouth Crush. Fishes the Costas, has made the Costa Championship, won some BFL divisions in the Northeast up there. I've been buddies with him for a long time. He's a wild man, but he can catch him.
Yeah, and we're not going to get into it today, but I told you, Matt, we want to get him on the show. It was actually a 2-part video, but he's coming out with part 2 when? A week?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We'll try to get him on after part 2 has been on, but the biggest thing that really caught my attention was his demonstration of the time value of money.
What was the
compounding
title
interest?
What was the title?
I don't even remember.
It was, is it worth fishing local tournaments to try to make money?
Yeah. Yeah, and then he did the comparison of how much. What was the dollar amount he used?
Said if
almost
you put,
10 grand.
He said he had spent 10 grand in the last 2 years on the BFLs, and that he had won X amount. Anyway, he had cleared like 4 grand over 2 years, and that was winning the Angler of the Year and 1 and having some top 10s. And then what he did was he plugged that 9 grand that he spent in those BFLs in 2 years.
Yeah, into a compounding interest
and
model.
said in 30 years it would be worth almost 100 grand. Yeah. If he hadn't. So he made 3 grand or 4 grand off of that in $9,000 investment. Yeah. But he said if he had put it in that and compound, it would have been almost 100 grand.
Like I told you, though, you can make that comparison with anything that you do that is a hobby of which you can generate revenue to.
Right.
It's choice.
But like I said, how many good stories start out with, boy, I put $9,000 into this IRA with compound interest. None. I mean, it's life. It's
It is
life.
life.
People
It is.
value things differently. He's still fishing the BFLs this year.
Yeah.
People put different value on money, and if that's your deal to be financially have that money when you're retired, I mean, ideally you want to do both, but I mean, there's a means to an end sometimes.
It's called balance.
And like I said, a lot of those guys started out, and yeah, you're not going to make money in the BFLs, but I mean, look at them now. I know they're in the 1%, but they started out not making money, and then they made money.
It's
and
balance.
You have to be there.
It's balance. It's balance and behavior. That's one of the fundamental things that I teach in my finance class is you have to establish what behavior that you want for the lifestyle that you want to live. Bottom line.
Yep.
And if long-term value and long-term revenue security is important to you, then you make different choices. But first time I've ever seen anything like that, and I thought it was very, very, very interesting.
We'll have to ask Zona about that. Because, I mean, he kicked everyone's ass in the early 2000s in the Coastal Series. And one year, he, got second in the championship and had, 2 or 3 seconds in one season. He's made $80,000 over there.
Yeah.
I would be interested in his take. And I know Dano at Advanced Anglers done some stuff like Origins with him, but I'd be interested to kind of get his take on what it was like when he was fishing in the early 2000s as far as then the TV show and the coverage of it.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I want to go back to the bowling real quick because we're going to ask Mark this too, because his brand is definitely a mixture of both now, both digital and television. But are there a number of people, and to get all of the qualifying action of which we showed the cameras and what those guys were doing for all the live coverage through Flow Bowling, you have to pay, I think it's like $16, $17 a month. Is there enough viewership out there that if they did put a camera in every single boat, because that's the one benefit that you get out of what the PBA is doing, you get to see every bowler at least one time based upon how they have the cameras set up during qualifying. Would people be willing to pay $20 a month to be able to pick what angler on any tour that they would be willing to watch during the qualifying? In other words, that live camera would be with that guy, and you could go in and you could select what angler that you want to. Is there that much of a demand that the fans would be willing to pay $20 a month to watch that action basically 24/7 while they're on the water?
As long as there's not a free option, I think so. But as long as you have 3 tours, like let's say MLF charges $16 a month, which they're not doing as far as I'm concerned. I'm just using it as a hypothetical.
Right.
Well, I think you get 90% of the people that say, screw it, I'll watch the FLW live, and I'll watch the Bass live, and I'll watch the MLF show when it comes out. If the Elite Series charges, I think people will watch the MLF and the FLW tour. The unique thing about bowling,
there is no other tour.
There are no other tours. These are the best. Every single one of the best is in the same spot at the same time. If you want to watch them, you got to go through this. So if fishing ever gets to that point where if you want to watch the best, the top, and have no other options, then I think that becomes a viable option. But as long as it is as spread out as it is and you have free options at your disposal, I think the pay to watch or pay to play format is difficult to make work. It's almost like they've had the information websites. I remember they had Bass Insider for a while. You pay what, $10-12 a month or $20 a year to get access to this. Well, there's so much information on the internet that it's difficult now to get like what the Bass University is doing. They have some on the water instructions and stuff. That's you can't get a full deal like that anywhere else. So I think that's why some people pay for that.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I agree. All right, we're going to take a break. And, hey, I don't know what this is, but Rick B. in North Carolina says, was Joe Baylog referring to Panger as a social media celebrity? Did he come out with a new story?
No, he was probably referring to the MLF people that got hired, I would assume. I'm not. I have 1,000 followers on Instagram. I never post on Facebook. I'm not a social media. I'm not even a blip on the map right now.
All right, we're going to take a break. Come back with Mark Zona. Everybody stay tuned on a Thursday.
Sleek new design with easy control file. The clearest images underwater with uncompromising range. Live mapping from the touchscreen. View notifications, video, even Google Maps on screen. And for the first time ever, real-time view of fish movements with live sight sonar. HDS Live. New from Lowrance.
It's about the hours spent getting everything just right. It's the attention to detail. Good just isn't good enough. It's the years spent on the water day after day. When you tie on a bait by Strike King, you're standing on the shoulders of legends.
Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their boats. Do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than 8 seconds, even with the big 4 strokes. And when you gotta turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water, Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
Hey guys, Aaron Martins here. I'm going to be telling you about a new product by Sunline. It's Siglon PE x8. I've been using it almost extensively all year for my frogging, flipping, drop shotting, shaky heading, worming, jerk baiting. It's by far my favorite Sunline braid. I honestly, I don't say this unless I think it's true, but honestly it's the best braid in the market out of any of the braids. Definitely check it out. It's a price point line, $14.95 for 165 yards, and that could last you a whole year, just one spool with using leader material. It's Siglon PE x8. It's my favorite braid, and I think if you use it, it'll be your favorite braid too.
All right, we are back on a Thursday. Mark and Matt in studio. Show number 3 of 2019. I'm still working on next week, man. Trying to get everything
You're not an
booked
energy
up.
drink guy. This is Rainbow Unicorn. This is the best one yet.
What was that one on special? Is
Yeah,
that
there's
why?
no sugar in it. There's no carbohydrates. There's no fat. There's also no calories. And
Do they tell you what is in it?
there's no protein. Yeah, there's Ultra CoQ10. Duh.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, the instant feedback blowing up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with it, but I'll try, folks. If I don't get to your question on the instant feedback once we bring Mark in, we will make every effort to try and get to as many instant feedback messages that we can. But I think it's time to bring in our guest. I know He is a very, very, very busy man, and we appreciate him taking time out. And recently, I don't know how long ago, Matthew, he's living now on the lake that he grew up on.
He pulled
cool.
He pulled a Mercer.
Yeah.
Now they're both living on the lakes that they grew up on.
Yeah. I want to reset. And first of all, I want to say thank you for taking time out. I was multitasking while Matthew was talking to you a little bit, but I really want to jump into several things, Mark. First of all, in the discussion that we had last night, I feel like there is a lot of emotion in what you're involved with right now, and there's a lot of really, I don't want to say concern, but you are it seems like you are in a good place now, even though with all of the things that have taken place. So the very first question out of the gate is, why did you stay, man?
Wow, I mean, you come in swinging, don't you, Mike?
I do.
And you don't have a Costa tournament that he can bring up.
Why did I stay?
Or did you even get asked? You know, a lot of people don't know that. Did you get asked to make a move over to Major League Fishing? And if you did, why did you stay?
I did. I did. I was asked. And I'll be honest with you. Let me start off with this. I was honored that they asked me to get into this new project. That was an honor, and I told the folks that called me, you know, several different times that I appreciated this opportunity. But here's where I'm at on the other side of that. On the other side of your question is why did I stay? Dude, I'm in a very, I hate to, you can ask my wife, I'm a very unemotional person when it comes to work. When it comes to work, I always say, Mark, I've always used this phrase with you, just run the ball, do your job, stay in your lane, plow your own field. I've always said that to you. Worry about what you do. Let all the noise around you happen. With that being said, I grew up with the Bassmasters. I grew up with that, man. I was the dude that, you know, I still pound the Ray Scott and Bob Cobb drum. That's what I grew up with. When I got the opportunity 16 years ago, I think my kids were 3 years old. I literally thought when I hosted the first Bassmaster show with Tommy, it was before the Elite Series even started. I remember walking out of the studio at JM Associates, and I'm like, dang it, man. I just commentated my Monday Night Football, what Monday Night Football was to me in the fishing world. And then when I got the opportunity to cover the Elite Series, that was my dream. That was my dream. And to leave that dream, I couldn't do it. Here's what I mean by that. I love the people I work with. I love the people I work with on the set, from the production side of it. And the other side of that is I watched history on the Bassmasters. I got to be a part of that in a very, 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 very small way, from classic victories to Angler of the Year titles, to watching guys that you did not know the year prior, to watching Jordan Lees and Dustin Connells, to Seth Fighters, and that's what I've loved about that, is not only covering the giants of the sport and seeing their dreams come true, but also finding the next Jordan Lees of the world. And here's where I'm at with that. I didn't want to ever compromise my dream of working there. And I will miss I will miss those guys that left with all of my heart. And I'm humbled for the time that I covered them. I'm lucky. I'm so dang lucky to have learned, to have seen history happen. But now it's time to move forward in a different Elite Series, a different look Elite Series. And I want to see those new guys. Look, we'll find them. We will find the next ones. Look, there's a group of them in there now that are going to be the next Hammers. But I sit here and wonder, when I sit here and have a cup of coffee, who are the new ones in a year from now, in 2 years from now? That's probably what I love most. So I guess in a Cliff Notes, in a real Cliff Notes version, Mark, I know that was long. People always say, and this is a really goofy, stupid statement, it's not work if you love what you do, and I love what I do, and I wasn't going to give that up. With that being said, when Kevin and Ayler and Hackney and Christie, when they get on the bus and they head out, that part was emotional. But that's back here, because after this year's Classic, somebody's going to go on to win Bassmaster Classics. Somebody's going to go on to win Angler of the Year titles. It just ain't going to be that.
Why do you think this whole situation happened, Mark?
That's too convoluted. That's not for. I'm not one of the anglers. I'm not one of the anglers. I work in a different division of this. You can go to so many answers that would be correct, and there'd be so many answers that would be incorrect. Here's what's weird to me, though, is now that the smoke has cleared, this is going to be good. This is going to be different, but it's going to be good. And I always go back to the opportunity for the anglers now has never been bigger, but from a fan standpoint, boy, y'all will have some content to watch this year. And you know, I look at back when before I fished a gazillion tournaments before television, you know, and I still am. Dude, I'm a fishing show content tournament junkie, and I still am. The only thing that I think hurts in a way, I think it's a little bit confusing now, okay? If you follow this goofy game and the three organizations, you kind of get what's going on. If you don't and you come in, you're kind of like, okay, you got this over here, this over here, this over here, and stuff like that. And wow, some of them even have a different game because the Bass Pro Tour is a totally different game. And the only thing you can you can equate it to, you're trying to make as many putts as you can compared to this golf game over here has a totally different format, so they're really not comparable. Not that any of them are wrong. They're just different. And if you just walk into this right now, it's a little bit confusing from a fan standpoint.
What is your relationship like with Kevin?
Wow, Mark, you are just peeling them off the top right now.
And now for a lot of fans, that you have a tremendous fan base, though, Mark. They know how close that you were with Kevin. And I'm curious, along with all the other fans, what is that relationship like?
You know, I hope it's good. We're spending the entire weekend together, because if it's not good, that's going to be a really sucky weekend, Mark. You know what? When we go out tomorrow night after we're working the Ultimate Fishing Show up in Detroit, if we go out tomorrow night and things get chippy, now look, I'm not going to lie, I poked him a little bit because the Bears did so good this year and the Lions sucked. It was finally time to do that. But to answer your question, this whole situation was probably the most emotional for me with him, for my wife, with his wife. Did I think that we would work together until we both retired? I did. Maybe I took that for granted. What's weird is I could sit here and say, dang it, man, you know, I wanted to work with you on the Elite Series till we were done. You know what he could say? Dang it, man, I wanted you to come in and be the commentator over here. Neither, you know, when it's all said and done, it's over. I don't have any right on planet Earth, any right to judge somebody's occupational decision. I don't. No man can judge another man's choice of where he works. He doesn't have that right with me. I think it was, in all honesty, when everything happened, I think it was a shock to our family system that no matter what, we will not be around each other as much because work, in some way, shape, or form, brought us together. You know, it's almost like that when there's a divorce, now you got to find time for visitation. Right? So, I'm being honest. So after the smoke, the nice thing is we still, outside of tournaments, we still do common things through sponsors or stuff like that. So we'll be around each other a lot. We just will not be around besides this year's Classic. After that's done, we just won't be around each other as much as we had been in the past.
All right, I'm gonna move, since you mentioned that, to the next topic. What are your thoughts about the Classic this year? Is it going to be weird? Is it going to be strange? Is it going to be, you know, the last hurrah? What are your thoughts on the Classic this year?
Mark, you know I love awkward. I love awkward. It'll be all of that. It'll be strange. It'll be awkward. It'll be awesome. I honestly believe it will be one of the biggest Bassmaster Classics ever. And from the Bassmaster side of it, we just got done with production meetings. From our standpoint, we want to make this one of the biggest ones ever. We want to cover every single guy in that tournament correctly, and from it will be odd because when it's done, you know, a lot of them will go their way, and we will go our way and entrench in the Bassmaster Elite Series season that will already have 2 tournaments, you know, behind us. But it's going to be, you know, number one, where it's at, right in Knoxville. That's a hub of bass fishing. But take all that aside. From a fan standpoint, from an angler standpoint, at least what my goal is with the group of folks that I work with, I hope everybody walks away from that. Number one, everybody walks away from that professionally, that we do our job correctly, but the fans go, wow, that was class, man. That's what I hope it ends up at the end of it. And I think it will. I think it'll be an unbelievable tournament.
I guess there's not technically a history book like there is in Major League Baseball where you go back and can actually see. But there are a lot of statistics that will freeze, that will not change going forward to the next couple, and a whole lot of anglers, you know, it went from anywhere from 99 to 106 anglers where the top 30 make it, to now you've got, 75, 80 anglers where half the field makes the Classic. So you're going to have anglers that have a better chance of making the Classic. But how do you see the history of Bassmaster Elite Series and that professional fishing? What is the best way to move forward on that aspect, and how important is it to have a context based on what has happened over the past 50 years and what will happen the next 50 years?
Panger, you go on and continue to cover it the way you cover it. There's no other way to cover it. And here's what I'm saying is, and I've used this reference. I used this reference with Mark 2 months ago. If Tom Brady and Drew Brees leave the NFL, there is still going to be a Super Bowl. There is. And there will be a Super Bowl champion. In fact, a lot of other quarterbacks would go, see ya. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And the NFL would have to cover it from that context. They left. They're gone. We have to cover this the exact same way and log this for the history books the exact same way. We have no choice. If Kevin Van Dam and Greg Hackney leave, we still have to have our Super Bowl, the Bassmaster Classic. We still have to have Angler of the Year titles. That's the only way we can cover this. And I always throw it to another sport. If those Tom Brady's leave, we're still going to have a ball game. The show is going to go on. History is going to go on. We're still in this, and you know, your question right there, Painter, we're still in this because it's so fresh. It won't be so fresh 2 or 3 years from now. Mm-hmm. That's why you just make that transition and you keep going. You keep going. And you keep logging history.
All right, we're going to get to the instant feedback, folks, here in a minute. I have a few more questions, and then we'll go to the instant feedback. Mark, who are you going to miss, and who are you not going to miss?
Oh, go to the second part first.
Mark, how'd you do in that Costa last week?
Well, I was going to say, in 2005, Jeffrey zeroed a Bass Nation tournament on Grand. Didn't get a bite the entire day. Everyone else had a limit. He goose-egged. So if you want to...
I think Crete and I zeroed in a fish and chips a while back, too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, it's the ones I'm going to miss are, you know, the obvious ones. I'm going to miss Hackney and Kevin and Christie and Ayler. I mean, those are the guys that, you know, when we're not, you know, when we don't have our blinders on, those are the guys that I'm around. You know, the ones that I won't miss, they know who they are. But here's what's funny is they're the same ones that because you guys have covered this stuff since the day it started, is the ones that make themselves elusive to cover are the ones that, I mean, I hate to, but here's the thing, that will go on in fishing tournaments long after we're gone. The guys that don't want to tell you, our job is, and I've always said this, is who, where, and what, and most critical, what they're throwing and what they're doing. And there are a handful of anglers that do not like to give it up and make and I get it. I get that side of it. In fact, one of them, we had a conversation about it recently, and he apologized for not wanting to make my job easy. But the thing is, I did all I could to rile him up at times. I'm not going. Here's what I will do. I'm not going to say those names, but I think a lot of you can guess who those are. So there.
The story is nuts.
Yeah.
Mark, with everything that has happened, is this thing going to turn into an arms race? Is it going to turn into the WWE between all three organizations?
I certainly hope not, and that's, you know, what, man. Here's what I've, you know, what's funny is long before MLF, and you would always get the Bassmaster this and then FLW this, and I can't stand that stuff. Mark, you know how I am with that when people bring it up with me. Every organization in this game right now absolutely positively has its positives. Everyone will have drawbacks from a standpoint. Here's where I fall into that. All of these organizations have great people and anglers, all of them. And when people bring, and this is where I truly lie in this, I cannot stand when people bring up, oh, well, this one don't do this, and this one don't, and you hear it on all of them. We should be happy that we have all this right now. We need to be happy that we have all this and stay away from that mudslinging, because I can't tolerate that stuff. It is such a waste of time, and it's such a waste of emotion. And Mark, you knew how I was about that 15 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, before we get to the instant feedback real quick, I know I've been following the Bass Instagram feeds, and Noah, you guys have all been spending a lot of time in the studio in Little Rock. You've had a lot of anglers in there and met them. 3 names that have impressed you right off the bat that you have worked with, that you've had a chance to meet, that maybe the fans of the Elite Series are not familiar with right now, but that you think in a couple years we'll look back on and go, man, that guy impressed me right off the bat and caught the heck out of him.
Patrick Walters is, you could see he's got the full game. Derek Hudnold, those are young guys right there that are coming out of our opens. But you know, that it was funny. We had a meeting down in Birmingham where a lot of the anglers came, and I looked out and I got up and talked, and I saw new faces. You know, you see a lot of new faces that are sitting there. You know, a Harvey Horn and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden you look and you see Scott Canterbury, you see Matt Airy, you see Jay Yellis sitting there. I mean, one of the reasons I'm sitting here is Jay Yellis. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I did not know the Woodrow Wilson Bridge on the Potomac River if not for Jay Yellis, right? That's probably that question. You know, when I see it's amazing when I see young anglers that are coming out of the opens and they're so, you know, wide-eyed, ready to go. I mean, go. And then you see some guys that have come over from FLW and have been around for so long. It will be. Here's what's really bizarre to me. This time of year, I'm always scratching to go. I always make that comment when we start off in studio or we go to a classic. Man, kick the ball. Let's go. Let's go. I don't know that I've had this much excitement to start a Bassmaster year as I have this season. For what you just said, mm-hmm. I want to see what you're going to see. Who are those next stars?
Has it surprised you how many other anglers, how many fans care so much about what you think about all this? Because I know you've probably been bombarded with questions and you have tons of anglers who called. Has that kind of been a surprise as to how many people value what you think about all this?
I made that comment. I'm staring at my wife right now. I made that comment to her last night. I said, I truly don't, I'm humbled by that. I am. I'm humbled by that. Maybe it's because I've done this mm-hmm. for a while, but that does amaze me because it's weird. We were testing the Skype machine last night with Mark, and we got done, and I looked at my wife. I said, I don't understand why and I've had a lot of requests to do this exact interview, and I've turned it down because in my head, I always think this. I think this when I'm covering the Elite Series, when I'm doing a Zona show. What the heck do people care about what I think? When you actually think people care about what you think is when you fall off the deep end. But I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that. I really don't. But here's what I do know. I live in this. I live, I'm a fisherman and a commentator. That's what I do. That's what I've done for almost 2 decades. And maybe because, and my wife would probably say this, fishing is all that goes on in this house. Next to deer hunting and fantasy football, we are a very shallow family. We don't, it is bass fishing and the bass fishing world, 365 days here. And I always make this comment, Panger, outside of these doors, people that don't live in our world, in the bass fishing world, I don't know what the heck they do. Like, you know, when we go to a cocktail party and people start talking about other stuff, I hate to say it, I'm not interested in what they say. So I don't know. I'm just not.
All right, Mark, what I'd like to do now, instant feedback, massive. Maybe we can do rapid fire, all right, on some of the questions that the fans have. All right, I'm just going to start and go down the list. Andy in Indiana wants to know, have you ever been approached to do anything from a commentary standpoint besides bass fishing, such as the NFL?
Yes. A while back, yes, we were, this was a few years ago, we were asked if I was interested in college football, in covering game day stuff, and it was probably one of the worst business decisions of my life. I totally shot it down.
Okay. Maynard, longtime listener and watcher of the show, wants to know, are you still going to cover the old hammers on your show? Are you still going to have them on your show?
Absolutely, man. Look, because here's the thing, and you know, I would always have Bassmaster guys. I would always have FLW guys, and that stuff would cross over. I'm still going to have my buddies on my show, even if they're not with us. That's one thing I didn't ever play that. That's not what the Zona show is. I mean, am I going to have a lot of new Elite Series guys? Absolutely. Am I going to have Bass Pro Tour guys? Absolutely. I'm not going to change how I do Zona show. I won't do that. I will not compromise that.
All right. Brian from Lake Norman said, on your last show, you said that you were shocked to see the number of elites leave. How many did you think would leave?
You know, that's a very, very convoluted question. That's a conversation that you and I've had, Jeffries.
Yeah.
Look, if you were an owner in Major League Fishing and I get it, man. That's you got ownership in there. And again, I'm not questioning another person's occupational move. Now, from a competitive standpoint, from a business competitive standpoint, there's a lot of guys that from 25 to 35 that have won major titles, that have awesome brands. Surprised me. Definitely surprised me. Do I think, you know, over time, they're you know, guys are going to go from here to here to here to here? Yeah, I do. That's just because what's always gone on in professional bass fishing. But I'm not going to lie. Let me go back to that NFL reference. If Tom Brady and Drew Brees left, and I'm already if I got a good living and I'm a young dude, I've been like, see ya, bro. That's just a simple business viewpoint of that. Is what it is. Time to go forward.
All right. Brian wants to know, what's more important today, digital or television?
Oh, in my world, absolutely, hands down, bar none. Television is still the monster. I mean, television, really, for all the organizations, is still the monster. It's what I always say, Mark, and you and I, we've talked about this. Television is still the motor. It is absolutely still the motor, and you know, digital is an accessory to it. It absolutely still has its place. Where you see that transition and you see that, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, at least in Zona Show world, we do way more social media stuff and Zona Live on Bassmaster.com now? Absolutely. Will that transition outweigh television before I retire? I don't know. I can't answer that. You know, do I think everything will come down to where you can get on your iPad or you can get on your television and just click what you want to watch? Sure. Where that'll be the mass. It's just not quite yet. Television is absolutely still a monster.
All right, Matt in North Carolina wants to know, will you watch any of the Major League Fishing events on television?
I'm a junkie. Of course I will. I will watch by the end of the year every Bassmaster show, every Major League Fishing, and every FLW show, for the simple fact I don't know that I've ever missed one of those organizations' event. I mean, on my television up. I mean, that's what I'm into. It's what I'm into.
All right, Clay from Arkansas. If you had to make a pick for Angler of the Year right now, who would you pick?
Keith Combs.
All right.
Keith Combs. No doubt. I mean, I can go with, I think a dark horse. I really do. Just looking at the schedule, I think Clifford Perch is somebody to look at. You can look at them Johnston brothers from Canada, if you know what I mean.
They're scary good. They're scary
good.
Those
are scary good. And not only that, they've got that sniper attitude, if you know what I mean. But I look at for really the last 10 years on the Elite Series, Keith Combs, except for last year, is in the top 10, Panger. Am I right? Every single year?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to bodies of water this year that, look, here's what I would tell you. If the same guy stayed at the Bassmaster, looking at that schedule, Keith Combs would still be in the top 3 to me. He absolutely would be there.
And yeah, I think that a underrated part of it is Keith Combs is very competitive on the water. And
Keith Combs is competitive off the water.
Right, off the water. But on the water, I mean, he's going to be able to go where he wants to go this year.
I would say, Zaldane will be right there. I think Seth is going to be right in the mix. Look, man, if I had to lay money on it, I think Combs will be he's going to be a handful. I mean, look, man, we're going to Lake Fork. What else you want?
Didn't he he lived in a 350 square foot house with no TV in it on Lake Amistad for 2 years and was on the water over 320 days a year, made it as uncomfortable as possible in his home so he would be forced to fish every single day. Yeah. That's who you're dealing with.
Listen, he is a weird. I've spent a lot of time with Keith the last decade. A lot of time, and we hunt together, we fish together. Keith Combs spends an embarrassing amount of time. Here's what I can tell you is going into any tournament the last 10 years, the next 10 years, Keith Combs, he does his homework on the water. He lives there.
Very cool. All right, Jake in Ohio wants to know, do your kids have any aspirations on fishing one of the tours?
Banger, how'd you do in that coastal last week? My boys have fished hundreds of tournaments since they've been able to drive from 3-hour weeknight tournaments. They actually won the Kevin Van Dam College Championship. This is their first year out of college. That's hard to answer. That's very hard for me to answer, Mark. I don't know right now. One of them is much more interested in tournament comp. They both fish, 200 days a year, when they get out of school and stuff like that. But one of them is a competition junkie, and I guess if there was one of them that would, it would be Hunter, who's a competition junkie. But do I see one of them doing that in their life? No, but I could see both of them some way, shape, or form working in the industry.
Okay. Eric in New York wants to know, do you think smallmouth are going to come into play at the Classic?
Hold on real quick. Did I say that correctly, Karen? She shook her head yes, so I did okay.
All right. Eric in New York wants to know, do you think smallmouth will play a big role in the Classic?
If you look off the history of Loudon and Teleco and stuff like that, it's hard, obviously having an 18-inch size limit. So that's really what he's talking about. It's hard to stay consistent with an 18-inch size limit, number one. Do I think they will be a major factor to where they contribute into this? Yes.
Zona's wife is sitting just off screen with her hand on the Ethernet cable cord, just in case stuff gets wild. She just pulls it out of the wall, instantly ending the feed.
Panger, you know the scorpion that I'm married to. She's very hot, but she will sting you if needed.
Wow.
It's not.
That is not nice. Not nice.
Do you think, and this is
Let's stay away from any questions about the scorpion if possible.
Yeah, we won't go there. All right. Eventually, do you think that you guys will have a West Coast swing in the future?
I in all honesty, I can't answer that. I know that I would say that there will be a lot of feedback from the anglers, and if there's a mass push for that, I would say yes. But that is, not Mark. You know how I am. I stay in my lane at bass, and more than anything, I think a lot of that will be input from the anglers. So that would be hard for me to answer.
All right, Brian and a number of other people want to know your pick for the Classic right now.
Well, you won. I mean, you have to look. I mean, Ott Defoe is every time we go to a Douglas and we go to any of those river systems, around Knoxville. I mean, he wins everything, right?
Yeah.
What's funny is I talked to Brandon Lester because Brandon Lester's absolutely on my list because he lives within 3 hours of there. And what's interesting is this body of water that we're going to on the Tennessee River. It's probably the most underfished of all of the surrounding bodies around there, Cherokee and Douglas and Chick and Gunnersville. And I know this sounds bizarre what I'm going to say. It's probably the most unknown of the locals of the usual classics we have. A lot of the classics that we have, Jason Christie on Grand, and then, you go to Casey Ashley on Hartwell. There's not as much of that local knowledge through, around Knoxville as other venues that we've gone to. That's why I think you have to throw it to a local dude, a Brandon Lester, an Ott Defoe. But you put Ott at the top of that list just for the simple fact of how he's truly performed around there so far.
Mark, is this year going to be the busiest that you've ever been from a filming standpoint and all the other commitments that you have?
Yes. This will be 3 or 4 years ago. I think I had a nervous breakdown, Mark. I talked to you about. I think I had a nervous breakdown in O'Hare one day in June, because I had been gone for it was I think 90 out of 94 days, and I cut back a little bit. Bass was Mike McInnes let me cut back my schedule a little bit to where I could really work on Zona Show stuff. But this season, looking at the Elite Series, looking at Zona Show, looking at Zona Live, and then the Bass Pros TV show, it'll be. But here's the thing, man. This is what I do for a living, and I love what I do for a living. The other side of that was one of the major reasons I cut back, the last 2 years, and it was not a dramatic cutback, but it was my kids' transition from high school to college, and to me, those are a couple of the most critical years where a kid can float off a little bit and not make the right decisions for the rest of, that affects the rest of his life. And I also thought that they were critical years that I was kind of here, helping with some of those things and helping Karen. But yes, this year it'll be a beast. It'll be a beast for Mercer and Tommy and Davey and Ronnie and Sue. It'll be a beast for, everybody in this industry, but it's time to drop the clutch and go.
All right, 2 more quick questions off the instant feedback, then we'll wrap it up. Jake in Ohio wants to know, is there anywhere that he can find the original Peekaboo episode of your show? He's been looking forever with Crete.
Choke Canyon. We caught those fish in a pond dam, Carolina rigging and cranking. I remember that show. And actually, no, there is nowhere he can find, unless he pirates it. And here's why I say that, is World's Great Zona show has been around almost a decade. And then there was World's Greatest Fishing Show before that. Really, World's Greatest Fishing Show that Randy White produced, I transitioned to working with JM Associates. Those shows, ESPN still holds the rights to those shows. And they're like, it reminds me of remember on Raiders of the Lost Ark, at the end, the Ark of the Covenant went into this big storage building. This is a very low budget Ark that went into some storage building somewhere.
Yeah, he's depressed now. He had it on a DVR or something. I don't know.
You could always start a petition.
Hey, listen, I have those shows, and every now and then when we've brought loudmouth bass shows out with Jay Kumar.
Oh, geez.
How long ago was
that? And the blazer, when you guys were wearing the blazers?
Hold on, Jay. It is time to go deeper into some issues.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Hey,
remember the bump board?
Oh, yeah.
We did a bump board once.
I know.
We did a bump board. Who would you not want to ever fish in the boat with? My number 1 person was Charlie Manson. That was on television.
Wow. How long ago was that? That's 15 years ago, isn't it?
Oh, it's more than 15.
Jeez.
It's more than 15.
Jeez.
Yes.
Hey,
Jay asked me one time, Kumar asked me one time, he's like, Z, wouldn't it be great if we did loudmouth bass again? And I'm like, no.
Wow. Hey, with all your contact and all your knowledge, do you have any idea? A lot of people want to know, Andy in Indiana, Jake, fantasy fishing. Do you have any idea whether that's going to happen or not, Z?
Oh, that's more of a RonMoore.com. I've been a little more. I've had my eye on some different projects. But you know what's funny is they had us throw out a lot of picks when we were in studio. I guess I apologize to Andy. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, one more, and this is really interesting. I keep saying one more. I'm sorry, man. It keeps blowing up.
It's like one more cast.
I know. Bob in Illinois, and this is a very interesting question, not from a business standpoint, but from a performance standpoint. Is it difficult to get used to new rod and reels when you switch sponsors?
No. Well, the nice thing is, I've been with Daiwa now. I guess I'm going on my 3rd year. The nice thing is I fished with Ayler and Randy and Seth, so I had already fished with a lot of that equipment. So no, it's not that hard. So
I don't know what this is, but the guy says Joe Gibbs Racing, and anybody can put anything on there as far as his name. He said, pick one, clowns, eggs, or sharks. Is that some cryptic message or something?
No, I know that whole group at Joe Gibbs Racing, just so you know, this is no joke. Those are all bass heads. Every one of them in that shop is a bass head. From the marketing folks to the pit crew, those are bass fishing nutbags. And I've been around a bunch of those guys and their kids, actually. I don't like clowns. I've never eaten an egg. Sharks scare the heck out of me, but I've embraced them, and I fish for them whenever I don't fish for bass, and we're able to go fishing for. I'll say sharks. All
right. Final question on the instant feedback. Once again, a number of people want to know how you felt after Sunday.
Panger, what's your girl situation lately? How you been?
In reference to the doink of a field goal.
I mean, here's my problem. I've said all year that we were 1 year out, and I still obviously we're another year out. oh, you hate to see that come down to the kicker that has, I mean, here's the problem, Mark. He missed enough field goals. We should have had a bye and not even been playing in that game, man.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
I got a yes or no question and a question where the answer is either 1, 2, or 3, or 4 or 5.
Okay. Yep.
And then I'm done. I save these till the end. Will Kevin Van Dam fish in 29 Bassmaster Classics?
No.
How many professional bass tours will be in existence in 5 years?
3.
There you go.
Very interesting. Z, man, it's been a while, but
you can expand if you want to.
Yeah, if you wanna kind of drill down on that one, you can.
You know, I will, and this is from a personal perspective. I've worked with Tommy and Davey and Mike McInnes and Mercer and the whole gang, you know, for a long time now. Long time, Bowman, you know, and you guys. I will miss a lot of the guys that I've covered. I will miss them with all of my heart. But I'm going to tell you, the next few years in what we do, are going to be incredible. And here's what I mean, you know, in a full circle. Is Mark asked me last night when we were testing this, and it was his first question. Why did you stay? And I love bass. I do. If I didn't, I would have left. I talked to Chase Anderson, and if I didn't think something was going to be in the existence, I'm gone, Jack. I mean, I'm gone. I love where I work. I love the people that I work with, and the anglers that I'll work for. To me, there was no question where I would be, because I would never leave those guys I work with. I just wouldn't.
Loyalty means a lot, man. It does.
Yeah. Mark, don't you make me cry at the end of this thing.
We've never had anyone on BTL cry.
No.
In 9 years. 10 years.
Well, I'm really, and look, here's the thing. I wish the guys that I have covered and that we've all covered, I mean this so much from my heart. I wish those guys the best of luck. I truly am humbled and honored. Even when Edwin would make it hard for me to cover, I wish every one of those guys the best of luck. But we're going to do some special things too the next decade. There's no doubt in my mind.
All right, man. Great stuff, Z. Thanks for taking time out. And,
hold on real quick. I didn't even show them to you.
What's
Look
that?
who I got over here. Look who I got right here. It's Zachers!
He looked terrified.
He was rather frightened there, Z.
I'm brutal to that dog. I'm brutal. I am brutal to him.
Has he been sitting there the whole time?
Modern day Spuds McKenzie.
Why don't you grab him and put him in your lap?
Let me have that angel.
We'll wrap up with the...
That is an angel right from the clouds in heaven, Jeffries. And Mark, I want to say something to you and...
Aww.
And I mean this. We've worked together, Panger and the legend. Thanks for everything you guys have done. You guys have busted your behind the last 2 decades, and you've done it right. Good job.
Thanks, man. It means a lot. All right. Best of luck to you the entire year, Z. I know it's super busy for you, but I really appreciate the friendship that we've had over the years, and wish nothing but the best for you and your family going forward. And, man, I know you're busy, but you can come on anytime, dude.
I appreciate that, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
All right.
Banger, good luck in that next Costa. Sorry.
He's speechless, Z. All right, man, take care. See ya.
Thanks, Z.
See ya.
Oh, that was funny. Good stuff. Good stuff there.
That covered the gamut. Boy, you came out firing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I at least started with some softballs. Hey, how's the show going?
No, I told
what
him last
do you have
night
coming up?
I told him, I said, dude, you've known me for 20 plus years. I said, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I said, some of the questions that I'm going to ask, they're tough questions, but a lot of those questions, don't you agree? People wanted to know the answers.
100%. And I think I think a lot of people, like if you were to name, would you say in the industry, 10 people who are not like policymakers, but who kind of guide the conversation.
Yeah.
Would you not put Zona in the top 10?
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Absolutely. No doubt. Wow. All right. We will have, in case you missed the interview, we're going to have the replay out there a little bit later today than usual because I have to get out of here. I have to be in Anadarko by 11:30. So in case you missed the middle of the show, the replay will not be out until later this afternoon or early evening. So I apologize for that. And then tomorrow we will go back to our normal, or not tomorrow, actually Monday, we'll go back to our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday schedule. We are working on getting our guests lined up for next week. Matthew, first week in the books. It was a good one.
Yeah, we got through it. I like the new look there. The new instant feedback seems to be rolling, and we got a lot of questions answered in the first week of the year that we did not have closing out 2018. So as we get closer and closer, obviously the FLW Tour kicked off today. But as we get closer and closer to the Pro Bass Tour and the Elite Series kicking off, heck, we're going to actually get back to talking about bass fishing.
Can't wait.
And what's going on and everything. It has been bizarre. But it's also crazy how it's also kind of seems normal already, even though it's just been a couple of months.
Yeah.
So it'll get more and more back to that. And as we get used to the reality of the 3 professional tours covering all 3 of them, looking forward to it.
All right, everybody be safe. We will talk to you on Monday. Everybody, stay tuned.